Right. We are live.
Hello, everyone. Hope everyone got to see Terrifier 2 today. We did not. I don't think. Did you see it, Joe?
No, I have a screener that I haven't watched yet.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh boy. A screener.
I gotta be in the mood to sit there.
Send it to me. I'll watch it.
Too long.
I know, too long. Okay. So, do you know when this is getting put on? Is it getting put on Netflix? Is it getting put on Peacock, VMO?
What's that? Terrifier 2?
Yeah, Terrifier 2.
I don't know, but they just announced the physical release. They just don't have a date yet.
For the physical release?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that on Amazon, but they didn't have a price or a
I'll probably just wait.
or a day.
I'll get it just because I have the first one. Now you're gonna need to get the second one. And
look, I like the first one. I know
I do too. I like the first one a lot.
Yeah, we have personal reasons, or
your
personal reasons why you don't particularly care for some aspects of Terrifier.
I look at it as like anything else. It's like I try to look at it like I love the movie Clown House, so I'm not gonna hold.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not gonna. I separate, the reality of it to the movie, and I love Terrifier as a movie. So it's not that I'm not excited to see Terrifier 2. Trust me, if this movie came out and it was 85 minutes, I would have watched it by now.
yeah, I got it.
I got to be in the mood for a new movie like that that's that long.
Yeah.
I know that sounds weird, but like as much as I love slasher films and movies like that, it's like 2 hours and 18 minutes, whatever the hell it is. That's a long time for a movie like that.
Well, and here's an easier way to put it. When we watched The Conjuring, for people who are in the chat now, I don't know if there's anybody in there. I don't think so. But we watched The Conjuring, and when we decided to sit down and watch them in the order of release, committing that kind of time to Conjuring 2, which is 2 hours and was it 16 minutes?
Something like that, yeah.
Conjuring 3, which is almost 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Annabelle Comes Home, which is hour and 52 minutes, I think.
Yeah, and the original Conjuring, same thing. It's like an hour and
51. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, we put forth a lot of time and watch time in order to watch these films.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that, well, I don't want to give away my rankings, but I honestly think that, I had a lot of fun with it. Definitely had a lot of fun. And I thought it was really cool. It was your first time.
Let me ask you this. So earlier you said your ranking was set. Did you change it since then?
No.
Okay. So so you were accurate before when you said that.
Nope. I went through it. After I set my ranking, I watched my ranking again.
Mm-hmm. See, I want to go back and watch yours, but I didn't want to be influenced. So I figured I'd wait.
Well, it doesn't have The Conjuring 3.
Yeah.
In it. It was before that came out. And I was really good about doing all this at first. Like when Halloween 2018 came out, I re-ranked the Halloween films.
Yep.
And I re-ranked the Purge films. But now we got one like every year, the Halloweens, which I love. I think it's great. But it's like, give me a break. I'm
laughing because I said the same thing when Kills comes out on Blu-ray, I'm going to do my Halloween re-ranking. And I haven't done one since before Kills. Yeah. But now I'm just gonna wait for Ends to come out because at least there'll be like a little bit of a delay in between Ends and the next one, whenever that happens.
It's gonna be a while, yeah.
Exactly. So when Ends comes out in January, that's when I'll do my next ranking for Halloween. Because then I'll be able to add Halloween Kills, and I'll do an in-depth one. So I won't just be adding Halloween Kills, but I'll be adding Kills and the extended cut of Kills, and then Ends and the extended cut of Ends. So I'm technically adding 4 to my in-depth ranking as I have it now, And things change. You know how it is. I mean, sometimes, your ranking changes over the years. And I think there are a few that I might swap out in different spots. So
I think I've come to the conclusion because, like I said, I watched my ranking because I can separate myself because I know what mindset I was in at the time when I watched them before. for the Conjuring universe. I know exactly what mindset I was in. Of course, it's changed this time because I'm experiencing something new with you and introducing you to the films, kind of. And because it was your first time watch, we didn't do a lot of texting back and forth or messaging back and forth, except for the word toss got put in there quite a few times.
I kept saying it when I was watching with Erin too. I was like, tossed.
Every movie, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, mine changed drastically. And then when I had my list set, I went back and I watched it again. And I'm like, now I'm thinking to myself, why was this one in last place? And why was this one here?
Yeah, that's what I do with different rankings. Yeah.
And but that's my own ranking.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying with mine. Sometimes I go back to my old rankings and I'm like, really? I had this one this high or this one this low? And
my Halloween ranking when we get ends is going to be very different than my Halloween rankings before.
Yeah, mine will too. With kills and ends now, definitely.
And I think movies are going to fall.
Yep.
I think movies are going to jump up quite a bit. Yep. And I think that
too.
yeah. And I think that movies that I wasn't so keen on before, like H2O, which I used to love, but now I'm starting to get back into it again.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, it changes. And I remember Andy from Andy's Crypt.
Andrew's Crypt.
Andrew's Crypt, yeah. I asked him one time, why don't you do rankings or anything like that? And he said, if I were to do that, it would change the next week.
Yeah.
And it does.
I say that in some of my ranking videos. You know, sometimes like the following week, it's like, damn, you know what? I should have had this above this one or whatever.
Yep.
It just depends on your mood sometimes.
It does.
Leading up till Halloween ends, my son went through all the Halloween movies. And not that he doesn't every year anyway, but he watched them. Like I told you, he kind of watched them like night by night.
Multiple times.
To get ready for Halloween ends.
Yeah.
And I was talking about his ranking with him in the car. And same thing with him. Like he said, his ranking has changed from the last time he watched them, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
One big one for him. And, you know, for all the people who hate it, my son, just like me, I guess, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 jumped drastically in his ranking this time. Yep. He always liked it. Don't get me wrong. He never disliked it. But he said for some reason this time, like he liked it so much more than he ever has. And it's actually really high in his ranking now, which I think is cool because it's high in mine. Because I truly do think it's this hated masterpiece. I don't know how else to word it. I feel like it's this movie that people don't want to view as a masterpiece because they don't like the route that Rob Zombie took. But as a film, it is a masterwork of horror filmmaking, and it pisses me off how much hate that it gets.
It shows what he can do. I think the better example might be Lords of Salem.
Well, absolutely. But I'm saying Halloween. If we're talking the Halloween films, I mean that's it's on a whole different level. I mean, if we're talking quality of film, I mean there's others that people love for nostalgia and stuff, but you know, we talk about this all the time. Many times we love films that aren't objectively good films, but they're entertaining. Right. So we might rank them higher than other films. If we're talking about, exactly. If we're talking about objectively good films or objectively well-made films, I hate when people say Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is a bad film because it is far from a bad film.
You may not like it, but it's really not a bad movie.
It's one of the better made films in the entire franchise.
Yep.
And that's what's crazy to me is how much hate that it gets. But hey, Dan, how you doing?
Hey, Dan, are you a fan of the Conjuring universe, or have you not seen them? Because that'll be a gauge of whether I spoil stuff. I probably won't go into too much depth on Conjuring 3 because I feel like a lot of people, they talked about it at first, but I don't think a lot of people really talk about it that much.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I'm not going to spoil anything here either, but
well, you know what's weird about the movies is you don't
have to spoil anything to really talk about these, I feel.
The Curse of La Llorona, right?
Yep.
They're against La Llorona. It's like there's nothing really to spoil.
Yeah.
The Nun, they're against the Nun, you know, it's like
like there's certain things like because Erin knows a lot about like the real life Ed and Lorraine Warren, obviously.
Yeah.
So she was talking about different things. Oh, did you know that they had part in Amityville and this and that? And I'm just looking at her smirking. And I'm like, just wait till we watch the movies. I just kept telling, just watch the movies.
Yep.
You know?
I was kind of hoping, I kind of hope that we'll get a Conjuring where they do the Amityville hoax or not hoax, as the case may be. Seen the first two. That's cool. Yeah, they're very good films. Very well made. Even the spin-offs like Annabelle, The Nun, La Llorona are well-made films. They may not be for everybody, as some of them are quite hated, but I still think they're well-made films. Very well-made films. It's a very consistent series.
Well, if at the end, so like I said, I watched The Conjuring again earlier, and it dawned on me at the end when Lorraine is laughing and saying, "Oh, the Exorcist, got approved. The exorcism got approved and stuff." And she said how they want to meet, and they said there's a case on Long Island they want to talk about.
Yes, you didn't know that when they were talking about it?
I missed it the first time. I didn't even hear her say it for some reason. So when she said it this time, I was like, "Oh, son of a bitch!"
Yep, 112 Ocean Avenue.
Yep.
I still kick myself for when we were coming home from the band trip that one time. I wanted to stop by and see that house, and it was raining torrentially, like as in, it was like a snail's pace. And I'm sure you know what the Long Island Expressway is like.
Yeah,
it's just a nightmare. So we ended up not stopping, but I will always regret that.
Dan, that's exactly what I said. This was my first time watched through the franchise, and that's what really hooked me. Is I love the Warrens.
Yes,
I love the casting of Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. I just love them. I think they have this good chemistry. They look like they're a couple that's actually still in love after all these years.
Yep,
and they're lovable with each other, but also to the people that they help.
Yes,
like you
they have a conscience.
You want to trust them. Like you feel like you can depend. Like they're gonna help me. They're gonna save me. Like you feel like comfortable with them. It's weird.
That's why I was kind of I didn't want to say anything about The Conjuring 3 because I didn't want to spoil anything. But with certain non-ghost related problems, Mr. Warren particularly, I was kind of wondering how you were going to feel about that. So, I mean, he still had a big role in the film.
Yeah. I actually knew. I don't know how. Maybe I caught it on somebody's video one time.
Really?
I didn't know to the extent. I just knew something that I don't want to spoil it. This one, obviously, for anybody watching this, but that obviously the thing that you're talking about that happens. I just didn't know to the extent. I just knew that it happened.
Yeah.
I didn't know when or in the movie. I didn't know how bad it was going to be, that sort of thing. But so when it was happening, I was like, okay, here it is.
Yeah. Great casting. Yeah, definitely. That's what Joe and I kept saying, throughout the thing. Because this is like probably the third time I've went through the Conjuring universe myself, with the exception of part 3, which I've only seen twice. But, well, 3 times now, I guess, with you, Joe. But, yeah, the casting is just impeccable. It really is.
Yep.
So, yeah, but we're going to rank these and talk a little bit about them.
Maybe
it's not going to be just the Conjuring. It's going to be the spinoffs, the Annabelles, the Nun.
The complete universe. So there's 8 films in total right now. We got the 9th film coming out next year, The Nun 2, and then they just announced The Conjuring 4, which will be the 10th film coming out in 2024.
Yeah, I can't wait. We're fiending here. Now we want more.
I was saying the same thing to my son that I said to you earlier. I waited all these years to watch them for the first time. We got them all done in like a span of 3 days, and now I'm impatient waiting for the next one. It's like I want them now. Like the movies waited for me to watch them all these years, but now I'm like, give me more right now.
What's weird is I didn't intend on marathoning them last time when I did my ranking.
Yeah.
It just kind of happened. And like you said, we didn't really intend on doing it this time, but it just kind of happened. And I found this time I liked the movies more as it went along.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was something that I hadn't experienced before when I marathon the films. So, but they're going to hit me different every time. That's for sure.
To me, it's funny because then on Fear Fest a little while ago, Trick or Treat was on, And
nice.
Aaron and I were talking about what we love about Trick or Treat is how everything sort of connects and goes back, and
yes.
the beginning is the end, and this and that. You know what I mean? How it goes. And I was like, and I was telling her because we had just finished watching The Conjuring. I'm like, that's how the Conjuring universe is. Well, even though it's not one movie like Trick or Treat, I'm like, as all the movies sort of come together. Like the ending of one movie, you don't even realize it's happening before it's happening, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit! Like this is now the beginning of this movie that I already watched.
Yep.
So it's like it's taking you back to something else. And that's what I love about it. I love how it's all connected.
Yep. Yeah, me too.
These little details, and it's like, damn.
Yeah, definitely. You there, Joe?
Yeah. Yeah. Why, you can't hear me?
Yeah, I thought your mic went out or something.
I was like, not again.
Yeah. I guess we can start in another minute.
Yeah.
Like I said, this isn't going to be a very long stream. We're going to talk a little bit about them and rank them and have some fun. So, but yeah, I'm ready to. The next thing Joe and I talked about doing. Hey, Mr. Boone. Finally terrified. Yeah, where is that you can watch it, Mr. Boone? Yeah, it wasn't playing. It was playing in Pennsylvania. It was too far for me to go. So hopefully it's on a streaming service I have or can get to. But
I don't think it's streaming legally online. Yeah. Well, Screenbox. A lot of people use that.
All right. I'll do it. I don't care. I mean, I'm going to buy it eventually anyway, so what difference does it make, you know?
Well, that's that. Yeah, exactly.
You can do a trial of Screenbox. Yeah, that would be interesting. Maybe I'll do that. Thank you, sir. All right. You ready to start, Joe?
Yeah. You wanna? All right. So, just like we do with all our other streams, our other rankings, we're going to start from our least favorite, which many times is a movie that we still very much enjoy with a lot of these franchises. Yeah. Start with our least favorites. We talk about the reason why we have it ranked where it is, and we work our way to our number one, our favorites in this franchise. So there's 8 films in this one. Again, we're including all of them. Not just The Conjuring, The Conjuring 2, and The Conjuring 3, but also the Annabelle films and also the other sort of spin-offs like The Nun and The Curse of La Llorona. So with that, why don't you get started? What's in last place for you?
What's in last place?
Hey, Liam.
Now, just to let you know, this wasn't in last place last time I ranked it.
Okay.
But it's going to be The Curse of La Llorona.
Okay.
I can't trill my tongue like that, so yeah.
So this is also my last place.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay. I love all these films. I think they're all fantastic films. Yep. This one, maybe it was the cultural difference for me. Okay. Is maybe why it's in last place, but I really liked. I wasn't as familiar with, say, the folklore as I am with Annabelle or Robert's Doll or the actual Conjuring events themselves.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why it ended up in last place, but I still find it to be a really good film. It has some really good jump scares. Actually, it made me, the one time it made me jump, I think you jumped. When did you jump? Was it in Annabelle?
It was Annabelle Comes Home.
Right. I jumped in this one, and it was when she grabbed that girl's arm, or no, grabbed the boy's arm through the fence.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten it happened, and it just like, I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, this is in last place, but I still love it. I think it's great. I wouldn't mind if they did more, but I don't think it's going to happen because people basically crapped all over this.
It's the bottom rated one.
Yeah.
So for me, I'll tell you, first of all, what I love about it is you have Linda Cardellini, who plays Lindsay Ware in Freaks and Geeks, and she's Velma in Scooby-Doo, and she played in Strangeland. And I've always liked Linda Cardellini, so I think it's cool seeing her really in anything. So it's cool seeing her as like the mom in this. Like you said, a lot of good jump scares. I love like the sort of shaman guy, the guy that that was a priest and is no longer a priest, and he was really cool. I just like his
dry humor.
Yeah, like the way his humor. Like he seems like he almost looks like he'd be like an asshole, but he's not. You know, just like he's like this good guy. I like that. I like the ending. There's a nice moment with him at the end, you know, with the kids and stuff. I really like that. But the reason why I have it in last place, I think for me, is because I feel like it's the one that connects the least to the rest of them.
That's true.
Even though you have, you know, the priest that's in some of the others,
right?
It's just, this feels like a movie that could have been a standalone movie that doesn't even need to be part of the Conjuring universe.
Right.
There really is, like, I was like waiting for something more to connect, and it really wasn't happening.
So was I.
So it seemed like it almost seemed like they were cashing in on the Conjuring success. So like, let's slap Conjuring on it, throw the priest in, and it felt like one of those Hellraiser movies that wasn't meant to be a Hellraiser movie at first, but then they threw in Pinhead, and they're like, okay, now it's a Hellraiser.
Yeah,
that's how this movie felt, and it's not to say that it's not a good movie, because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
it's just it feels like, I feel like you can drop it from the universe and you don't lose out on anything.
Right. Well, I still like it though. Yeah,
I'm saying it doesn't affect the rest of the movies.
You're
Whereas
right. Yeah,
all the others, if you take one away, you miss out on something else that connects.
Yep.
With this one, you can take it away and it doesn't change the rest of the franchise.
That's true.
That's what I mean by that.
But in a way, the character that does link it, you do see that he gets a lot better and continues on where he was before.
Yeah.
Because he was in a hospital bed when you last saw him.
Yeah, so you get an update on him.
Yeah.
But
other than that, you're right. Yeah. You're right.
You're right. So yeah, that was number 8. What do you got for number 7?
Number 7 is a big surprise for me because it dropped a lot. I still like it.
All right.
To be honest, I had a little trouble getting through it, even though I love the movie. And that's going to be Annabelle.
Ooh, okay.
I always liked this movie, and I probably felt the same way you feel watching it now. Okay. But when you watch it a few times, for me, it starts to drag in some spots. Now, I do love the connection with the Manson family. I do love how we're not talking about creation yet, but how kind of creation plays a part in it. Yeah. Which you don't find out until later. I like the couple. They're a little too wholesome for me, but I like them. It kind of seems like it's of its time, though. I mean,
exactly. That's what it feels like. They feel like a couple of that time.
Yeah. And I don't know whether it was you, and I'm not blaming you for anything, but I finally saw that the lady kind of came off bitchy a little bit. It's like, I want a house. Now I want to move. I was like,
and I was like,
yeah, motherfucker. Yeah. I mean, you kind of influenced me on that. I was like, yeah, she's kind of a bitch.
The chick from Malignant. She's a malignant cunt. That's what she is.
Yeah. Yeah, it was her twin. Yeah. It was her twin that played in this one, though. But yeah. I shouldn't have said that because I probably ruined it for some people. Anyway, yeah, don't listen to me. I don't know what just happened to my phone. I just lost everything.
So you have Annabelle.
Yeah, but Annabelle comes in 7th, mainly because of the drag. And to be honest, I could have moved it up. My 6 and my 7 are almost interchangeable, but I like 6 better.
Okay.
So, and it has more rewatchability for me. So, yeah. Okay. You're number 7, Joe.
I'm going to get ready for everybody in the chat to probably gasp, and probably you as well. But my number 7 is Annabelle Creation.
Okay. Okay.
I went back and forth.
You fell some spots in mine too.
I went back and forth with this one with my 7 and 6, and my 6 moved up a spot, and my 7 and this one moved down now.
Huh.
So this one I originally had at number 6. I did drop it a spot here. I really loved the connection, like you mentioned, to Annabelle. I love how this one ends. I thought that was amazing. I love stuff like that. I think maybe it's one of the I like all of these a lot, and I like this one a lot too. I think this one is more that one that if I were just watching them in random order, I would probably choose a lot of the others just because I need to be in the mood for this sort of time period, I think.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
I get that.
You know, like something like Annabelle Comes Home, for example, I would obviously watch. I would watch before this one just because of the time
70s.
period.
Yeah.
You know, even Annabelle, the first one, same thing, just the way it is. Like, I don't know, there's just something
very nostalgic.
Yeah, it has a
And
different feel
plus,
to it.
it,
I like it a lot. I do. I like the house. But again, it's like it reminded me of sort of almost like Children of the Cornish. Like we watched Children of the Corn Genesis. That's
yep.
like that, like a house in the middle of nowhere kind of thing.
Devil's
So
Backbone.
yeah, it reminds me of something like that. And
Yeah.
I did love all that. The house, I do love the story. There's definitely some creepy moments, but just in the grand scheme of the rest of the universe, I think the others would be more rewatchable for me. I would choose to watch the others more.
I get that. This was always a favorite of mine.
I know it was. Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
you had ranked it really high before. You had said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much. I think this was number 2 in my last ranking.
That's what you said. Yeah.
My number 5.
6.
Or no, number 6.
Yeah.
And this might shock a lot of people, but that's okay.
It's
going to be the original Conjuring.
Same thing. Me too.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So this was my number 7, and then I watched it again today, and I was like, you know what? I'm moving this up. So now it's my number 6.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
This and Annabelle to me are close. I think this has a little bit more pizzazz. I mean, the Warrens do a lot to warm the movie up.
It's funny because when we were watching this, and we watched Annabelle, obviously, you even said to me you had more fun watching Annabelle than The Conjuring.
Yeah.
And now you have The Conjuring higher than Annabelle.
I do. Because sometimes I need to sit with it for a while, and I need to remember my past. This actually does tie in with La Llorona a little bit when you watch it. Not the same demon, but the same kind of thought behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole mother thing, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah. So I went to see this in the theaters and I loved it. And this actually had me jump a few times when I was in the theaters. It doesn't now because I kind of know what's coming. But you get introduced to the Warrens, of course, because this is the first one in the series. And like I said, they do a lot to warm up the film. And they're genuinely likable people. I just think there wasn't enough of them in this movie. For me.
You know what's interesting? And I know you've obviously seen it more than me, and I watched it only for the second time today. The first time we watched it, when we were done, I was like, damn, I wish the Warrens were in it more. Watching it today, I was like, you know what? They're in it more than I remember them being in it. And we only just watched it a few days ago. But for some reason, today I was like, huh, they're in it, you know? But I don't know why, like, it felt like they weren't in it as much the first time we watched it. And now I'm like, okay, they're in it more than I remember from a few days ago.
They had to do the character building.
Yeah.
And I think it was the reason why I like The Conjuring 2 a lot more, because of course it's higher because I haven't mentioned it yet, is which I'll get to when we talk about it, but I do feel like you get to know them better in the later films. That's not to say that you don't get backstory, because you get a lot of backstory in this, like what happened to what's her name? What's the wife's name? For some reason I'm blanking.
Well, Lily Taylor's her name in real life, but
no, the wife, the Warrens.
Oh, Lorraine, yeah.
Lorraine. Yeah. You get a little bit more backstory than you do in some of the other films.
Yeah.
But it's those two on screen when they're interacting with the people who they're helping is what does it for me.
Yeah.
So yeah. Joe?
So yeah, mine is also The Conjuring. Well, first of all, my biggest positive for this movie is that the Conjuring house is in my home state, like 10 minutes away from me. So that's a huge thing right there. And that's one of the reasons why it's crazy to me that it took me all these years to watch this movie until now. This movie was released in 2013, and I've literally been to the Conjuring house, but had never watched the movie.
Have you been inside?
No, we weren't allowed inside. It was actually just sold recently. Up until recently, it was basically all gated off, so you could drive by and see the house, see the land, but you couldn't like really go on the grounds.
Really?
It was just sold, and the stipulation was whoever bought it could not live in the house. So somebody, just because of its history, it's like,
wow.
That's the legitimacy of it, you know. I mean, we know it's based on true story, but that's how legitimate it is in this area too. So the person who bought it literally does tours now there.
Oh shit, I got to do that.
So they do tours, which is pretty cool.
I got to do that.
That's my biggest positive is the Rhode Island setting. I think that's really cool. Like you said, the introduction to the Warrens, I love that. Some really good jump scares. I was never a huge fan of this particular genre because I feel like a lot of the kind of haunted house movies or possession movies kind of feel the same. But I feel like this one really does it well. I understand the love that this movie gets. I feel like maybe the first time you and I watched it, I really enjoyed it, but I thought maybe it was a little bit overhyped because it's like a huge favorite among a lot of people. Like, oh, The Conjuring is one of the scariest movies ever, and this and that, And I think now after seeing it that first time and then watching it again today, I was like, okay, now I can enjoy it knowing what to expect.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like concretely, like not just going based on it's like overhyped and this is so scary and this and that. I think I was able to enjoy it even more watching it today. And yeah, I love like the whole Salem connection too. That's another big thing for me.
Yes.
Because it's one of those things where it's funny that I almost, again, not that I missed it, but I almost somehow forgot about it just watching it a few days ago that they even mentioned that part of it. Because as we were watching The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, I was thinking, this would be a great connection to Salem, the Salem witch trials. And then I was like, oh shit, that's right. Wait a minute, the first one already had that connection. So watching it again today, I was like, yes, that's right. So I love that as well. But yeah, I think for me, this one is just a little bit slower than what we get after this. And I get it because again, it had to build sort of that you're not only introducing the characters affected, but you're also introducing the Warrens in this one.
Yes.
So they kind of didn't have a choice. I mean, it's almost
and the history of the house too. I mean,
exactly. It's almost a 2-hour movie, so there was only so much they can do.
Yeah.
But I feel like once it does get going, it gets going pretty well. There's there's some frightening images. The girl up on the like the dresser, that part's creepy to me.
Yeah.
When the daughter looks up and she sees her up there, like that hissing sound, that face. That was a creepy scene. Obviously the end, the whole last exorcism scene, some really creepy images there. And yeah, I mean I love the cast. Again, not just Ed and Lorraine, but also the family in this.
Yep.
I really like them.
The movie going experience was awesome, and I'll tell you the part that scared me. The part that scared me because I couldn't see what was happening, and that's because you have the surround sound behind you.
Yeah.
And you hear this lady saying, "Look what you made me do!"
Oh yeah.
Right? I'm like, "What the fuck is going on? I can't see
cop,
shit."
Yeah. With the cop, Brad Hamilton.
Out in the movie theater, my wife's grabbing my leg, and we're like, sitting like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
So yeah, that part really got to me because I'm hearing somebody yelling. I'm like, "Wait a minute, Lorraine's not there. This is a woman's voice. I don't see the mom." Blah blah blah. Yep. And I'm like, I can't see what's happening. So it freaked me out a little bit.
And then you have the cop named Brad Hamilton, so that reminds me of Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Doesn't anybody fucking
Look
knock
at
anymore?
The big brain on Brad. Fucking Brad. Yeah.
That was number 6.
Must have been a draft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What do you got for number 5?
Number 5. I'm going to go with Annabelle Creation.
Okay, I had a feeling. Yep.
Now, this was my number 2 when I ranked it last time. Of course, that was before The Conjuring 3 came out. Mm-hmm. So I haven't done a re-ranking. This is kind of my re-ranking now.
Yeah.
The first time I saw this, it completely blew me away. Blew me away. Ever since then, I've liked it a little less every time I've watched it. And I think it's because some of the story with the girls is a little slow.
Yes, I agree.
But once this one gets going, I think this might be one of the creepier ones in the entire franchise.
I also agree with that. Yeah, it's an oddball like that.
It is.
I had trouble ranking this one. I really did. It almost felt like it deserved to be higher, but I like the others. Like I said, like I was explaining, the others felt more rewatchable for me. So it's just like it's nothing like against the film. It's weird. It's just how it ended up for me.
I mean, and I find this one to be particularly mean-spirited.
Yes.
Probably because you're dealing mostly with kids, but the whole reason why they were there. It's a very mean-spirited movie. And I like movies like that. I just do. I don't know what it is. And the fishing thing with the gun and the ball.
Yes.
Jesus, that's just awesome. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is my number 5 Annabelle creation. It's fallen a few, but I still love the movie, and I still find it rewatchable. Oh, and one more thing I wanted to say about this one.
Okay.
The accident in the beginning.
Yeah.
Messes me up every time I watch it because I've seen a lot of accidents in movies, and I remember Meet Joe Black was the one that kind of got me the most.
Oh,
First time I saw it. Oh my god, that's just this one I think is better because it happens so fast, like car accidents do, that when you see somebody get hit by a car, you're like, how come they didn't have time to change lanes? I mean, the car didn't come right away. Were they not paying attention? Blah blah blah. This just happened so fast that the person could not get out of the way.
Yeah.
And it freaks me out. It really does. So, yeah.
So my number 5 is funny because you and I sort of just swapped movies. My number 5 is Annabelle.
Yep.
So we had them in the reverse.
I had a feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, I have this right above The Conjuring because when we watched them, we watched them in release order, and we watched The Conjuring, then we watched Annabelle. And I did have more fun watching Annabelle than The Conjuring. I like the whole feel of it, that 70s feel. It just has like that good 70s feel to it.
Me too.
I love the Manson murder connection. I thought that was awesome. I mean, anything like that, like, it's just going to be like a huge plus for me. That was
they kind of retracted that towards the end of the film, though.
Well, yes and no.
I mean, they did, but it was still supposed to be something similar.
It was inspired by.
Yes.
But that's fine. It was because it does make sense. Like, it was, that's what it really goes into, like, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, like how that changed everything. That changed the way life was. Like when they talk about the beginning, when he doesn't lock the doors, and she's like, you got to start locking the doors. The world is different now. And the world was different. And this isn't an exaggeration because it's, people living during that time, the world was different because of the Manson murders. Like, that didn't just change Hollywood. That changed the way people felt about their own lives, because somebody could just walk into your house and brutally massacre you like that. So I think that 100%. Was pretty cool. I think that was cool that took a big role in this one. And the scene when she's in the basement in the elevator and all that, fucking love it. That was with all the lighting and like the flashing, the flashing lights. You and I talked about this scene when we watched it. That scene is absolutely amazing. Yeah, I really did enjoy this one. I love how it connects to The Conjuring, and then Annabelle creation obviously then comes back and connects to this. Like, I love how it's kind of sandwiched in between everything. And
they did a good job with that. They really did.
Yeah, they really did. I feel like this one did a good job of, how can I explain it? Like, Annabelle, I feel like people who didn't see the Annabelle movies almost think of Annabelle as like a Chucky doll.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you watch the movie, that's not the type of killer doll Annabelle is. She's not walking around with a knife.
We talked about this too.
Yeah. She's not walking around with a knife and stuff like that. And I feel like this movie establishes that well. Like, you see right away, okay, this is what Annabelle has to offer. This is what Annabelle's going to do. And I feel like the accidents in this movie were very realistic. Like, it's one of those things where somebody might not believe you because they could have just been accidents. So,
or your head.
Yeah, that makes it even scarier to me, because it's like, how do you prove it? It's like, they're not going to believe that it's a doll causing this stuff. Like, fires happen. This sort of stuff happens. So I really like that about this one. It's like almost like that paranoia of like, nobody's going to believe me on top of it. The fact that she's pregnant. So it's like she has to take care of herself and her baby. She's bedridden. There's so much extra like fear added into this one.
Well, she also didn't believe it at first.
Exactly.
It took a lot to convince her.
Yeah.
Of what was going on, because it wasn't logical.
Also, a really cool thing to note is that Annabelle Wallace, who plays in Malignant, and she also plays in this, her name is Annabelle in real life. So how cool is that?
Really?
Yeah, the main woman's name is Annabelle. It's like, that's pretty interesting coincidence, Hey, Verge, how you doing? So yeah, so that was my number 5. What do you got for number 4?
Well, just what you're saying, the part in the basement is what gets me the most about that movie.
Oh, I love it.
That was genuinely frightening. I mean, to me, that's nightmare fuel because not only do you have, when you see the baby carriage roll out,
yeah,
that's creepy in itself, and the baby crying, and there's nothing there but a bloody, like a bloody towel or whatever.
Yeah.
But then when she's trying to get away, you have the elevator scene, which completely freaks me out every time because that's the kind of stuff that you dream of, you know. So yeah.
And whatever. Also with the lighting, the way the flashing lights are, it reminds me of like when you go in like a Halloween haunt and they have like some of those rooms that have like the flashing lights.
Yes.
And it's like they like warn people before you go in. Like if there's gonna be strobe lights, if you have seizures, you probably shouldn't go in there.
Yep.
It's like that's what that scene kind of reminds me of. It's like it's like pitch black and then it's extremely bright. Pitch black, extremely bright. So it's like you can't get your bearings. You're kind of all disoriented and you don't know what's happening. I think that was done really well. I think that's such a creepy scene.
Yeah, me too. Me too. All right, number 4. Now this was it.
Hold on, I just want to answer Verge. So, Verge, you said you haven't seen them all. I'm gonna say this. I don't know where you stopped with the movies, but that was an issue for me before I saw the movies, and then I watched them, and there was a certain movie in the franchise that sort of addresses it.
Yes,
subtly, but it does address it, and it was satisfying enough for me that I was like, okay, this works, and I was happy with what they do. So that's all I'll say is watch the franchise as a whole, and I think you'll be more accepting. Because truly, that's how I felt. When I first saw the Annabelle doll in the movies, I was like, that's not what the Annabelle doll looks like. And like in the real life one. But like I said, the movies do address it in a very simple way that I was like, damn. I remember saying something to you. I was like, okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'll just say that. I don't want to spoil it for you because I know you haven't seen them all. I'll just say that give all the movies a watch, give it a shot, and I think you'll be a little bit more satisfied.
Yeah, they address it more than once, technically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 4. Now this one was dead last originally when I ranked them, but I have a thing for this movie, and I think I'm gonna like it more each time I watch it. But it's The Nun.
Okay,
that's pretty cool.
Number 4,
So this one really reminds me of an Italian film, and that's exactly what I told Joe, but it took me a while to get there for some reason. I think the last time I watched it, when I marathoned them, I was like, this is like an Italian film for the simple fact that they throw everything at you, everything in the kitchen sink. It's more about scaring than it is about logic at times, and I'm okay with that. Hey, John.
Hey, John. Is there in the feed of Pets?
Yeah.
Fuck the Eagles.
So, yeah. Anyway, so where was I? Oh, yeah. This reminds me of an Italian flick, and I think that's what kind of endears it to me. I do have one flaw for the film. I'm not going to say it because it does go into spoiler territory. Joe, we've talked about it, and it's a minor flaw, so it doesn't really take me out of the film that much, especially now, since I kind of have that Italian mindset going on. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of silly. I mean, I thought it was, but the rest of the movie is so freaking scary in parts that it's unnerving. It really is. The lady that plays the nun is completely creepy looking, as is the woman that plays La Llorona.
Yep.
I kind of like the nun a little bit better. Maybe that's because of the religious aspect. I don't know. But I like the setting. I like the atmosphere in this movie. Atmosphere is a big one for me. I like the fact that they casted, I think it's Vera Farmiga's sister.
Yeah, Taisha Farmiga.
Yeah. The girl who
was
in John. Horror Story. So
yeah.
So, that's cool. I like the story behind it. And once again, I like how this connects to the overall series itself.
So that's number 4 for you. It's not number 4 for me, but it is worth mentioning while you're talking about it that this is the second lowest rated in the franchise behind La Llorona, which it's interesting to me because I really don't think it should be rated as low as it is. It's almost rated last. I mean, it's very close to The Curse of La Llorona with the rating. So
what did it get?
It's like a 5.3, 5.2 maybe.
Yeah, it is kind of low for this franchise.
And La Llorona is like a 5.1. So
yeah,
I'm just saying it just feels like, I don't know. I think it's much better than that score. But it's, with that being said, it's not even my number 4 yet. So that makes sense that I would say that.
F the Eagles. Okay. Yeah, I do like this one. It's a lot of fun. And to be honest, this was the one I was looking forward to watching, this one and Annabelle Comes Home most in the franchise.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. That and The Conjuring 3.
Conjuring, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. What's your number 4, Joe?
My number 4 is The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, or The Conjuring 3. Yep. So we just watched this one today. Obviously, watched this one this morning. I was super excited to watch this because, number one, you had kind of given a little bit of praise when it came out. I remember you being pretty excited about it. And it was also because it was the last one we had left. So I just, I couldn't wait to get it done. And finally, I like finishing things. But I really, really like this one. This one could have been number 3. I was really going back and forth. But I settled here at number 4. And what I really like about this one is they take it out of the house. It's not really it's not a haunted house movie. Yes. This is, and again, for anybody who doesn't know, these are based on like actual events. These are based on true events.
Case history, yeah.
Yeah, that the Warrens have gone through. And so if anybody knows this case, this one took place in the 80s, where the Warrens were working on a case for the first murderer in history to plead demonic possession in court. Yep. The first one in the U.S. in U.S. history to do that. And it's just such a cool case because we get to see what's going on. But like I said to Jason while we were watching these movies, imagine being called for jury duty for a case like this. And the guy is pleading demonic possession. I mean, your first instinct is going to be, okay, this guy's crazy. Yep. But watching the movie and it's like, damn, wait a minute. What if? So I think it's a really interesting aspect to the story that they do that. And again, they take it out of the house. And there's some genuinely creepy things in here. Something about, and I'm not going to spoil it, there's a certain object that's important in this movie that for some reason is scary as hell. I don't know. It's just if you found that thing, it's like, holy shit.
I wouldn't pick it up.
That's what I'm saying. There's something so creepy about them finding it. It's like, I don't know. It's like chilling. And I just think it's done really, really well. There's slashing in this movie. It's not a slasher, but there's slashing.
Yes, there is.
There are multiple murders that take place in this movie, and people get hacked up. So it's it's very different. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's very connected to the rest of the franchise, but it does some different things which are good. It takes it in a little bit of a different direction, which is a good thing because how many different haunted house movies and possession things can you do? They switched it up a little bit here, and I really like what they did with it. This could have very easily been my number 3, but it sits here at number 4, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be Jason's number 3.
How did you guess? Hey, Brad. What's up, dude?
Hey, Brad.
So, right. So I'm just going to talk about it now because this is my number 3.
Yeah.
My number 3 is The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It. I had heard this one got a lot of crap. Of course, the first 2 Conjuring movies got nothing but praise. Now, some of the offshoots like Annabelle, trashed. Annabelle Creation was kind of liked by most people. Annabelle Comes Home was kind of divisive. And we talked about The Nun and La Llorona that were completely trashed.
Yeah.
This one got a lot of hate. And the reason why it got a lot of hate, and what I heard from most people, is the case wasn't big enough to base a whole movie around. I find that there wasn't enough content, is what they would basically what they said. I disagree with that. I think this was done incredibly well. I kind of question whether the people actually watch this or not.
Yeah.
Because when you get down to the part that Joe was talking about with the object that they found is definitely creepy. The reason behind it is creepy. And the reason that it happened in the first place is creepy because you're talking about, well, the actual case, I'm not going to spoil anything here. It was a normal person who literally went crazy and killed somebody for no reason.
Yeah.
But you do find out the reason behind it. And it is I think it's a very compelling film because you get, I don't know if you necessarily get more of the Warrens than you do in the second one in this one.
Close. It's close. I think it's close.
More.
I was thinking the same thing.
It means more, if that makes any difference. I mean, it kind of does and it kind of doesn't, but it does because of things that happen, which I can't get into.
Yeah. And that goes to the content. People saying there's not enough content in that case, but that's why you get more of this Warren stuff, which is important. But also, it also connects to another case that's mentioned in the movie, which I think is important because it's all.
I want to see that.
So I don't understand like how people can say that. Like you said, that maybe they just didn't watch it or weren't paying attention because there's plenty to fill. It's almost a 2-hour movie, so I mean,
it's not boring. As a matter of fact, when I watched this with you, this and Annabelle Comes Home went by probably quicker than any movie I've seen recently.
Absolutely, Annabelle Comes Home by far.
Yes,
fucking flew by.
Yeah,
and that's a long one too.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
I also want to mention I'm not going to say what specifically because it is kind of a spoiler if you say it, but there's a certain at the end of the movie where the climax of the film takes place is a great setting.
Yes,
it's super creepy to think that that's going on in this certain place, and I really love that about it too. It reminded me of some other things, but again, I don't want to say it because I don't want to spoil it. I think people should really check out The Conjuring 3 if they haven't. I don't know why it got hate when it came out because I thought this one was really good. Like I said, this could have easily been my number 3 as well. I'm glad that you have it at 3 because I feel like that works. At least one of us has it in 3rd place because I was really going back and forth between 4th and 3rd place. So
because of the stuff that I've heard about it, this was a really big surprise for me. So
I agree, Ben. I same thing. I like that it wasn't really a ghost story.
Yeah.
So that's your number 3. 3rd place for me is what was number 4 for you, and that's The Nun.
I knew it. I freaking knew it.
So I went back and forth on this one. I almost had this this was like my number 2 at one point. I almost had this at number 4 after watching The Conjuring 3 today. But ultimately, for all the reasons you said about The Nun, it's basically an Italian horror film. That's what it feels like. I absolutely love the setting and the atmosphere in this one. This may have the best atmosphere in the entire franchise.
Everything.
So much of the movie between the convent, the cemetery, so much of the movie is in like this foggy, misty cemetery at night. I mean, it's just in Romania. It's filmed on location in Romania.
It's freaking beautiful.
It is absolutely beautiful. So dark. I love that they cast.
Sorry.
I love that Taisha Farmiga was cast. Vera Farmiga's sister in this. I think that's so cool because it's this different time period. So it's like, how can you somehow incorporate, it's like incorporating Lorraine without Lorraine being there.
Yeah.
And with that being said, you do get the Warrens connected to this movie. Anybody who sees them will know that. That's not a big spoiler. It all connects. But what really blew me away is the ending. Like when this movie ended, really? I was like, holy shit. Like, how did I not see this coming? That one really I was like, damn, like that one got me. I loved that. But I love Taisha Farmiga as I think she was perfectly cast too as like this nun because
me too.
Remember, she hasn't taken her vows yet. So I like how, Frenchie's like making like these kind of like making moves on her and flirting with her and stuff at the beginning. And it's like, you can't blame him because she is like this cute little innocent thing.
Yep.
So, and then when he finds out she's a nun, he's like, sorry. And then he finds out she doesn't take her vows. And he's like, oh, well, okay. It's like, he's going back and forth like, all right, well, maybe there's still a chance then. And you really can't blame him because I think she's just so great in it. She really comes across like that sweet, innocent, that sweet innocence to her, and I love that about her character because
Me too.
It's a great contrast to the nun who might just be the most frightening character in this franchise.
Yeah.
Like just yeah. she's super creepy.
Yeah.
I think it's really hard to get genuinely creepy characters sometimes in movies like this because sometimes it looks like silly. I feel like they nailed it with the nun's look.
I think so too.
And like the way that just the way the makeup looks, the lighting of her when you see her, and she just looks creepy no matter what she's doing. Yeah, so it's my number 3. I am super excited that we're getting the Nun 2 next year.
Yeah, me too.
Next September. So I'm excited to see that story continued. Yeah.
I'm curious to see what they're going to do with it. I would love it if they would take it back.
Yeah.
Take it back to the convent.
I would love that too. What do you got for
really creepy visuals in that? It's like really creepy. Religion is supposed to be a safe place for a lot of people, and it is not in this film. Not at all. Not even close.
Yep. And like I said, I love how it connects to the rest. I mean, obviously they marketed it as a Conjuring movie when it came out, but I feel like unlike The Curse of La Llorona, which we say it does connect.
It does.
The nurse really does connect. This is a case where if you take away the nurse, you take away a big chunk of that Conjuring universe.
Yeah.
Because it plays a significant role in some of the other movies.
Yeah, it does. It does.
So that's the thing. I feel like you do kind of need this one as part of the universe. You can't get away with skipping the nun. The nun is important to it. But yeah, best atmosphere, best setting in the franchise, in my opinion.
Down.
Hands down. Exactly, Ben. I agree.
And it moves like an Italian film too.
It does, exactly. It really does. I mean, there's even like the kills in it. Like there's a little bit of gore in this one. Yeah, really, really well done. That's my number 3. What do you got? What do you got for number 2, second place?
Number 2 is Annabelle Comes Home.
Okay.
This is one I think I needed to watch a few times in order to really get on board with it. I always liked it, but I think it was the thing that kind of drove my idea of, or the idea of being like a Friday the 13th series where you have all those different pieces in their room that you could make an episode about or a movie about or something.
Well, like Cabin in the Woods. That's what it also reminds me of. Like everything, just all the shit hitting the fan at the end.
Yep. The bride's dress, the samurai outfit, the television, the typewriter, it's just, there's so much in there that, and they give you a little taste. I remember you telling me that. It was like, well, we get a little taste of it. Like, yeah, we do. And I think that's important. And the teenagers, of course, are believable because they're not going to do what you tell them to do.
Yep.
And like you said, and you made me aware of this, I think I would have probably figured it out because of her. She's a very dry actress, but I think she's great.
I think she's fantastic. McKenna Grace,
the girl from Ghostbusters
Afterlife. Yep.
Just a fantastic movie, and what's weird about it is Annabelle's always there, but she's not always there. So you get a lot of different stuff in here.
Yeah.
So it's not just about Annabelle like the other 2 movies. So
I think, interestingly, this is the Annabelle movie with the least amount of Annabelle.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like Annabelle is calling the shots. It's like she's controlling everything else. You know what I mean? Yep. And that's what's cool about it. But
she's basically one of the biggest demonic forces that they have in this room.
I was pretty sure this was going to be your number 2 because I know what your number 1 is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, my number 2 is The Conjuring 2.
I had a feeling.
This was tough because we watched The Conjuring 2 and I was thinking, yep, there's no way. I even said it to you. I was like, this is going to be really hard to top.
Yep.
Number 1, it's a Christmas horror film, which I love Christmas horror films.
Me too.
And at the beginning, it seems like, okay, this could be Christmas a little bit. And then it really goes full blown like Christmas. Like it's really Christmas in this movie. Like, I know I was making a joke because anytime you and I watch a movie, I always say, like, if they even mention Christmas, I show a Christmas tree. I'm like, oh, Christmas horror.
Christmas horror.
Yep. Sometimes it's like 30 seconds. And I said it in this one thinking it was going to be like past, but the rest of the movie literally took place during Christmas. I was like, holy shit, this is a Christmas horror film.
Yeah.
I mean, even
it's
the soundtrack
like that too. When you look them up, This is actually listed.
I mean, even the soundtrack. I mean, the there's Christmas songs playing and stuff through the movie. So, yeah, I really do think this is a brilliant movie. I absolutely loved it. I love the England setting.
Yeah, me too.
I like that because I like that in the first Conjuring, and especially I think for me especially because in the first Conjuring, I don't only have a U.S. setting, but I have a local setting.
Yeah.
So it's like I go for me it's like going from home across across the sea to England for part 2.
Yep.
So it was cool to kind of have like that contrast of now they're dealing with some kind of demonic possession or whatever out there, and I really love the ghost in this one.
Yes, me too.
This one for me probably has the creepiest moments in the franchise. Just the way it was done. I feel like less is more a lot of the times, especially in movies like this.
Yeah.
And, because sometimes you show too much and it's like, okay, yeah, it's a person with makeup on. And obviously we know that because we're watching a movie, but sometimes you almost you almost see too much. Like Insidious, for example, is a movie where when you're not seeing a lot, it's like really creepy. And then when they start to show the guy, it's like, okay, maybe we show him a little too much here. Whereas in Conjuring, in Conjuring 2, I feel like you get like just like these shadow images or these quick flashes of them. And even when the whole like what do you call it? Like almost like that Slender Man kind of moments, those moments, even those, like the way it's filmed, you're not really getting a good look.
Right.
It's just, so I really love how that's filmed, and it makes it so much creepier. I like the house that they live in because, it's the single mom, and, obviously she's
very
struggling
modest.
she's struggling with the kids being the single mom, and, they have that little Christmas tree and the Christmas decorations, and, Christmas horror just adds another element for me. It always does. And I talk about this during the 12 Days of Christmas every year. It's that contrast of what is supposed to be the most joyous time of year and
the
horror.
Worst. Yeah.
Like you can't, you know what I mean? You're trying to just enjoy your holidays with your family, but you can't because there's a fucking ghost in your house. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, how do you enjoy that time of year? And I love the Warrens in this so much, maybe more than all of the other movies. I just love the way they are in this movie. I love when Ed sings the Elvis song.
Yep.
And he takes the guitar and he's playing, and I love how that song plays a role like later on in the movie. Yeah, I don't know. I really this one blew me away. This was like the first one. I mean, it's only the third one in the franchise, so as we were watching them, this was the first one that blew me away. I was like, damn, I don't think it's going to get any better than this. This is going to be my favorite, but it's number 2 because we did end up watching one that I ended up enjoying just a little bit more. So, number 1 for you?
Number 1 for me is The Conjuring 2. Once again, I am continuously blown away by this film. I do love Annabelle Comes Home. That's why it was number 2. But I'll be honest, it was tougher this time. It really was for me.
It was tough for me too.
But this movie has every bit of the Warrens that I've grown to love to watch on the screen. Doing things for the kids. It just shows you how much they care, and you get that warmth. And the thing that really impressed me is the mom. Being a single mom and having all those kids. Yeah. She kind of comes off bitchy sometimes, but to be honest, she was very loving of those kids. And I like that they show that because they don't normally show that in horror movies. They normally show the parents being some of the reason why the kids are the way they are.
No, she was loyal. I mean, even like the scene when you think it could be a hoax, you're wondering, is it a hoax? And she stands by her daughter.
She's like, get out. You need to leave. Yep. Exactly. But, it's just, when he's interacting with the children and stuff like that, I'm just like, this guy's fucking awesome. Yep. And when the wife does too, it's just like, you can tell that they really want to help these people, even though they didn't want to be there in the first place.
Exactly. So, and that's a big part of this one. Yep. They literally have this discussion. Okay, we're not going to do it. We're taking a break for a while. And then they fly overseas to help this family.
And it was supposed to be temporary. They were just supposed to document what happened, and they were going to come back, and they were going to send someone else over because they had decided that they wanted to write a book about their experiences. So this one, it blew me away. And the whole thing with the Crooked Man comes in, which I think is really cool. It's another, I guess it was urban legend. I
Yeah,
guess.
like folklore kind of thing.
And they touched on it a little bit in this one.
Well, also, and I don't want to spoil what it is. I'm sure people probably know anyway, but the end of the original Conjuring hints at a certain something happening down the line.
Yep.
And in The Conjuring 2, the movie begins with another famous ghostly occurrence in history. Let's just call it that.
Yep.
So I thought that was really cool.
Yep. But yeah, this is just a fantastic movie. And when I saw The Conjuring in the theaters, I did not think that anything was going to be able to surpass The Conjuring. And this knocked it out of the park. It really did. Yeah. So, and Joe, your number one is
Annabelle Comes Home.
Bam. Yeah. This movie's great. I mean, it's absolutely great. Hey, Eric.
Yeah, like I said, hey, Eric, Conjuring 2, I really thought it was going to be my number one. And then we watched Annabelle Comes Home. And as we were maybe 45 minutes in, and I was like, oh my God, I think this is going to overtake it. It's just this. I feel like this movie right here is the one for the most, how can I explain this? For a majority of horror fans. Like, if you're not someone who typically likes possession movies or ghost movies, I feel like you would still enjoy Annabelle Comes Home. I feel like it's just the movie that's most marketed to a more general audience.
Yeah.
Just like the feel of it, just the way it plays out, it's like a teen horror film. I mean, the main characters in this one are teenagers and a little girl. So it's much different from the others in that vibe. I mean, even like the supermarket scene when, they're there and, she's, the guy's flirting with her and stuff. And, it's like the will they, won't they, like the sort of like the teenage romance that you would find in any teen slasher film, for example. Like, you get that kind of storyline in this. I love that this one takes place in the fall. You have the harvest festival at the school. You have all the harvest decorations in the supermarket. I really like that. I love how the supermarket looks like a supermarket of the 70s.
Yeah, they did great with products.
Yeah, all the products and stuff looks really, really cool. I love, like you said earlier when you were talking about this, it's basically like a Friday the 13th, the TV series, in that we get a little taste of all these different items in the Warren's museum room, their forbidden room. And we get a little taste, a little tease. And it does remind me of The Cabin in the Woods in a way where I won't spoil it for those who haven't seen it, but somehow these things get unleashed and you have these teenagers who are babysitting trapped in a house with all of these entities. But these entities that have taken the forms of different things like a samurai suit and a wedding dress and Annabelle the doll and a monkey, a toy monkey. Like, there's all these different items that I just, it's such a blast. This is so much fun, this movie, in a different way. Like the others, I feel like the others can get like sort of emotional sometimes in a good way. You know what I mean? Like they kind of pull at heartstrings in certain moments, and you can have the sad
this one
moments.
does too, though. At the end, towards the end,
it does.
And in the beginning
at
as
the
well.
end, definitely does.
Yeah.
But the majority of the movie is almost like this, like just this really fun, balls to the wall horror film where I feel like anybody can enjoy. You almost don't even have to be a follower of the franchise to enjoy this one. It helps.
It's real fun.
You can just put it in and enjoy it regardless. Even if this was the first one you watched, you can still watch it and enjoy it. It's just, it really is. It's I had the most fun with this one. This one would probably be the most rewatchable for me.
Yeah.
And honestly, this is what this is what was the difference maker for me between 1 and 2. The Conjuring 2 is 2 hours and 16 minutes long. Now, it's not to say that it didn't go by fast, because it does. But this one, even though it's still fairly long, I mean, it's an hour and 45 minutes. I think this one flew by. Annabelle Comes Home absolutely flew by. Like, we were at one point we were like an hour and a half into it. I was like, oh my God, it's almost over. It really does. It's paced so well. And McKenna Grace, as you mentioned, I think she's great. I love her in this movie. I think she was great in that role. I love how she handles the whole thing.
And you get to find out a little bit more about their family too, and I'll leave it at that.
Yep. And then again, like you said, the ending. I remember saying something to you. I was like, "Oh man, I really feel bad," and you're like, "Keep watching."
Wait for it.
It was really good. Love this one. I love the reason, like you said, is teenagers so it's believable because they don't listen. But also, not only that, but you understand the reason why it happens.
Yes.
You know, it's not even just that it's a teenager disobeying. She has a legitimate reason for doing what she does. And you kind of feel for it. You're like, okay, I get it. You know?
It's funny because that always gets lost in the shuffle with me for some reason. Like, I completely forgot. I mean, I just thought, this girl's a little bit more wild than the rest of them. So, of course, she's going to do what she shouldn't be doing. Right. And then they get into the whole backstory of her. And you're like, okay, well, I get that. I mean,
exactly.
Would we do the same thing? I don't know. You know,
it's like
being younger.
It's like Pet Sematary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like Pet Sematary. You watch the movie at home. You're like, you idiot. Why are you doing that? And then it's like you put yourself in Louis Creed's position. You're like, would I though? Would I take the chance? Like, what if? Like he keeps saying. And I think when you read Stephen King's Pet Sematary, the book, you even think so even more. You read the book thinking, I would absolutely do this if God forbid it ever came to that, because you're in that mindset. Like, if there's a chance, why not take it? And I feel like that's kind of where that comes into play here. In Annabelle Comes Home, it's like she takes a chance because what if?
Yeah, I agree. At first, you think it's just natural teenage curiosity, but it does go into a little bit more than that. So, yeah,
definitely, Eric.
Yeah, I was watching it the other day again. Yeah, Fred Gwynn is so good in that. Jeez whiz. He just, I can't, unfortunately, even with my cousin Vinny, I see Herman Munster, but, but I just, some of his facial expressions just crack me up. God. Yeah, I like him a lot. I wasn't sure that Creation was going to be able to overtake The Conjuring 2 for you.
Oh, Come Home, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, I knew you really liked it. Of course, I really liked it too, and it was really fun to see all those different things kind of at work in the museum or whatever.
If you could see one of those items in the next movie, which one would you pick? Only one.
I have to say The Wedding Dress.
Really?
Yep, because I find it to be a slasher movie, and I think I was already putting together things in my head of what it should be like.
I'd go Samurai.
Really?
Yeah, because it's obviously in Japan. Because remember, it's like they literally have, you hear like the Japanese voices, the Japanese language. So I want to see the Warrens in Japan, and I want to see the samurai slicing people up with the sword, because you can hear it in the movie, the sword slashing.
Yeah,
like it says, it's like when you put on the subtitles, it's the sounds of the sword slashing the person screaming as they're getting murdered by the samurai suits. So I would love to see that on screen.
Wouldn't it be cool if it was like, if they took like the House Where Evil Dwells, if that was actually based on case history and it was actually that?
Right?
Yeah, wouldn't that be cool?
No, I told you they should do Blood Beat instead.
Blood Beat, yep. Minus the orgasms, probably. Conjuring 3, La Llorona, and the Nun.
Well, Eric, since you came in a little bit late, out for a reference, and you can go back and see too. Jason and I both have La Llorona ranked in last place. Doesn't mean we don't like it. It's really good. But that's our last place. Conjuring 3, I had ranked at number 4. Jason has it at number 3.
3, yeah, I loved it.
And
I thought it was great.
The Nun, Jason has it number 4, and I have it number 3.
Yeah.
So just for reference.
I used to have, the first time I did my ranking, I had the Nun ranked dead last. I know. What the fuck was wrong with me?
I mean, that one's really good.
I had a problem with the ending. I really did. I had a problem with it. This time, not as much.
Yeah.
I still think it could have been done differently. But I like the idea behind it. I just don't like how it was executed. I guess maybe it was a cool idea, but I just didn't like the execution. I guess that's the easiest way to put it.
Yeah.
That's why I said I think they could have done it from a different angle. And I would have been okay. I'm starting a petition.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eric, The Nun is getting a sequel next year, so at least it's going to be getting some love, I guess.
Yeah, I've always liked it. It's one of those movies where I heard nothing but crap about it. Everybody trashed it, which I don't understand because there's a lot of aspects to this movie that horror lovers should really grasp onto, like the atmosphere and where it's filmed and stuff like that.
Well, and like what Eric just said, she looks creepy as shit, and that's what I was saying. I think she's like I personally think she's the creepiest villain in this universe.
Yep.
I just think she looks the creepiest, and I feel like she's utilized well in the movie. I feel like you don't get like overwhelmed with her. Like you still like they show enough of her, but not too much where you're like, okay, there's too much now, where it loses that creepiness. They do a good job of sort of keeping her in the shadows and showing her when necessary.
Yep.
The Conjuring 2, another thing I want to mention about The Conjuring 2, the scene with the nun in The Conjuring 2,
yes,
is one of the creepiest scenes in the whole universe.
Yep.
When she's down the hallway, that is so creepy.
Was that was the one with the painting too, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because I remember I was asking you, I was like, did you catch that?
Yeah. That's so creepy.
I was like, what the hell, man?
Yep.
I mean, I kind of expected it to happen because when, you've seen It Chapter 1 or whatever, that whole thing.
Yeah.
But, it's just like, that's not the same.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait for more now.
Yeah, you got that right, Brad.
I can't wait for the Nun 2 next year and the Conjuring 4 the following year.
Yep.
Now
I just hope they don't listen to horror fans. Yeah, do your own thing.
They should call it The Conjuring Ends and piss everybody off.
Oh God. Yeah. Yeah, do your own thing. Don't listen to what people say. Piss on them.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I went into The Nun thinking it was going to be one of like the bottom of the barrel ones in this franchise because I've always heard that's not one of the best. And as we were watching it, I was like, what the hell? Like, and I mean, again, and I really do try to be, even when we do our positive spins, I mean, we always specifically look at the things that people complain about.
Yep.
And we always try to understand what people hate about movies. And even if we don't agree that they should be hated, there are many times we can at least say, okay, well, we understand why this isn't a favorite for people. But in there's certain movies we watch and we're like, what the hell is wrong with people? Like The Nun, I mean, if you like the rest of the Conjuring movies, I don't understand how you can watch The Nun and be like, I don't like this one. Like, what the hell? Like,
yeah,
it's like it really is. It's so creepy. It has the best atmosphere, the best setting. It's really well done.
After going through these movies 3 times, and of course only 2 times for The Conjuring 3 because I've only seen it twice, but one of the things I said to you that I stand by, and I think it's amazing. You have different directors for most of these films, except for, of course, the Conjuring films.
Yep.
How they were able to all have the same feel.
Yep.
Even La Llorona, which has the minimalist tie-in, still has the same feel.
Exactly.
To me, it's amazing. It's almost like there's somebody back there pulling the strings, and it's probably James Wan, but I mean, but the guy's a freaking genius. I mean, he's I don't know. I think he's a genius, but they really said, look, I want to put together this universe. Maybe after how The Conjuring did, but and I want them to have a certain feel, and they all do. Every single one of them, even the ones that are in different time periods.
That's what I'm saying. Like, even like The Nun. I mean, The Nun being in the different time period in a different country, and it still has the same feel.
Yep.
Yeah. So Eric watched all the Phantasm movies finally. So that's that's awesome.
I watched his first one. I need to go back and watch. I might have watched the second one too. I can't remember, but I need to go back and watch what he thought of the rest of them. But I'll be honest, when I was watching, and anybody who has a comment on a movie either likes it or doesn't, and is able to back it up, or rather than just saying it's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I'll listen to anybody. I don't care. It's when you start getting into the vileness that I'm not interested in it. Just to trash a movie.
I mean, that's what people do anyway. I mean, like what Halloween Ends and stuff, you know?
Yep.
Like, let's call it a dumpster fire because that's a really clever phrase that we haven't heard a million times for every other fucking movie that comes out.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like, I can't stand it.
No, it's too much. And, you know, on Instagram and Twitter, and it's just too much. All these memes about how this one movie ruined an entire franchise is just too much for me.
I will say this though. So I'm in a bunch of different Halloween groups on Facebook, okay?
Right.
And like I told you, every fucking post is about how much they hate it and it's trash and this and that, all right?
Yep.
But every one of those groups has posted polls asking people, how did you feel about Halloween Ends? Did you love it, hate it, whatever? You know what I mean? And every one of those polls, the majority of people either have it as one of their favorites or that they loved it. So what that proves is people like us, I'm not going to rush to Facebook and write this big whole post about how much I loved it. I post my video on YouTube and that's it. But the people who like to trash things, they have to have their voices heard. They have to, you know what I mean? They have to go on Facebook and tell everybody how much they hated it, how much they think it's the worst piece of shit.
More than once.
But when it comes to polls, people like you and I will click on, oh, we loved it, you know, and we don't have to say anything about it. So what all that proves is that there are way more people that love the movie than actually hate it. It's just that the whiners are the loudest people. Yep. So they can sit there and bitch all they want and talk about making their petitions. But at the end of the day, they really are not the majority. They're just the loudest crybabies of the bunch. And that's it. And again, if somebody doesn't like it, fine. But I'm talking about the people who go on and say, this is the biggest piece of shit I've ever seen. This movie is trash. This movie ruined the franchise. There's not enough Michael, when he's in less of the fucking original movie than he is in this one. Yep. So it's like, it's so frustrating. Like, at least make it make sense. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, that's the issue that I have with it.
You know what gets me is that these people were the first ones when this trilogy came out, right? Mm-hmm. And I had a little problem with the fact that they retconned the whole Laurie and Michael being brother and sister, because that's what we've come to know, right?
I fucking loved it, as you know.
Yeah, and I love it now too. I'm fine with it. But these were the people that bitched.
Yeah.
But everybody's like, oh, he's superhuman. There is nothing in this movie in these three movies that said he was superhuman. Mm-hmm. Nothing that said he cannot be killed. Nothing.
Yep.
But yet they're able to accept the fact that they're not brother and sister, but that he's not an unstoppable killing machine. He's not that anymore.
And what drives me nuts,
a pathetic old man. Right, he's 65 fucking years old.
Well, that's the thing. So that's what drives me nuts. In Halloween Kills, people bitched about Halloween Kills. Oh, Michael Myers doesn't kill like that. You know, it was more about like a stalker in the original movie. It wasn't about body count. That's making it more like a Friday the 13th movie. They bitched and bitched and bitched, and how he was a 61-year-old man in that one, and how can he kill all those people on one Halloween night? So then it ends. They make him actually act his age, an ailing 65-year-old man who was just beat up and stabbed and shot and everything else by this mob a few years before, who's had no medical care, who's been taking care of himself in a fucking sewer. Yep. And then they're like, oh my God, well, why is he acting like such a pussy? Like, you just complained that he was too powerful, and now you're complaining because they have him acting like how he should be acting.
Yep.
So that's the problem I have. How can you hate Kills, but then also hate Ends? If you don't like one, fine, but the other one you should like, because they do the kind of the opposite of each other. So it's like, I just don't, I can understand loving both because I do, but I can't understand hating both.
Yeah. Here's the thing about that, Eric, and that's one of the point I was going to make. When I originally saw Jason Goes to Hell, I hated it. I really did. I freaking hated it. I hated it. But I have learned to appreciate it over the years. And even if I could have them change it, I wouldn't, because there's a lot of people that still like that film for what it is.
There's a lot of fun to be had in that movie.
There is a lot of fun to be had in that movie. And, I have, what do you call it? I have, it's grown on me a bit. It's a fun watch when you watch it with friends.
And we did it for Positive Spin, even though it's not one of your favorites.
I don't hate it anymore.
Yeah.
And even if I could have it changed, I wouldn't. I mean, it wasn't my movie to make. I didn't raise millions of dollars to fucking make the film. I don't get it. I don't get it, dude. I don't get it.
See, Eric, I know a lot of people complain about that, but I really have no issue with that because, again, you have a teenage kid who's been pushed to the fucking limit, who is now like passionate about doing something, and you have Michael, who is an ailing 65-year-old man. So I do think Michael not being inhuman, not being a superhuman being, yeah, I mean, I think it is believable that Corey could take his mask. He paid for it in the end, but I don't know why people have such a problem with Corey taking his mask. I mean, I mean, not that my son would ever do it. That would be like my son going and knocking down a 65-year-old man and taking something of his. I'm sure he could do it if he wanted to. You know what I mean? I mean, and I know he's Michael Myers. That's the thing. People have grown to think, okay, Michael Myers is an unstoppable force. But this movie, that's the point of this movie, is proving that he's not.
Yeah.
He is not an unstoppable force.
The trilogy rewrote the rules. It rewrote the story.
So I get it. I get that people. I understand why people don't like it. But I'm saying, me personally, I didn't even think twice when that happened. It didn't bother me at all.
Nah.
It made sense in the scope of this reality, of this universe.
Yep.
Because again, I mean, we see it's like a Christine story. When you see Corey at the beginning getting kind of pushed around by these bullies, and then he gets pushed to the edge where it's like no more. Like it's like that turning point hits him when they're in the restaurant, and when Doug Mulaney comes over, and he keeps talking to Allison, and Corey finally gets in his face, and she said no, and it's like he's had enough. And now he's standing up to this cop who earlier in that movie he would have never done. You know what I mean? He would have just sat there and taken it. So I see that as sort of an important part in the movie when he takes the mask, because that was the point where he crossed the line and he got a little too overconfident.
Yeah.
And then we see what happens. So I don't know. I think I just look deep into things, and I think in this trilogy you almost have to, because David Gordon Green and the writers did such a good job of putting these little details in there for a reason.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, people fight over the silliest things. I mean, if you go back and watch Ends, there's a part in the cave where you can see Michael carved an etching of his mask into the wall, and a lot of people have missed that. So there's like these little details that they don't focus on it, but it's there if you want to see it.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was great.
I did too. Yeah,
and I'm sure we'll be doing a positive spin on it next year. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can't see how we wouldn't. It's at like a 5.0 right now.
Yeah,
which is low for a Halloween film, obviously.
Wanted Michael to put up more of a fight. He beats the shit out of Laurie. I mean, he really does.
I think he means against Corey.
Oh,
but I think he was kind of caught off guard, because if you look at that scene, Corey kind of charges in, and Michael's just standing there, and then Corey just charges at him. Michael kind of wrestles him down, and I kind of like how they film it, because we don't see what happens off screen for a second, like they're like out of view in the tunnel, and then the next shot you see is them sort of like wrestling on the ground, and then it feels like it almost seems like Michael just kind of lets him take it at that point. It's like, okay, go ahead, take it. Corey leaves, and then Michael sits up like, okay, now I'm fucking ready, So, like I said, I get it. I don't know. I feel like they were kind of damned if they do, damned if they don't. If they didn't show that scene at all, people would have been like, well, how did he get his mask? Yeah. So then they show that scene and people complain, well, look how we got his mask. I mean, there was no way of satisfying everybody, unfortunately.
Yeah. It has been really toxic on this one, though. I mean, I subscribe to iHorror.
Yeah.
And they send me, they probably send it to you too. And they were even talking about how fans are bitching about the ending, on there. And, it's really toxic. It really is. And they talked about the petition too.
This is easily the most divisive Halloween film ever made. And honestly, that's what they were going for. So guess what? They succeeded.
Yep.
I mean, like you and I were talking before the stream, David Gordon Green and Jamie Lee Curtis both went to, I forget his last name, Rowan, who plays Corey Cunningham in the movie. And they told him that he better be prepared for the toxic fandom because people are going to be attacking him for this role. Not him personally, like basically telling them, don't take it personally. It's not your performance. It's not going to be about that. It's going to be about the fact that you're playing this character that people are not going to like because it's taking away screen time from what they want to see. So it wasn't like this isn't a movie this wasn't a movie that David Gordon Green thought was going to be like this spectacular hit. He basically made the movie he wanted to make and said, if you don't like it, fine. But I'm making this movie. And I commend him for that. They made a decision and they committed to it, and that's what I love about it.
Well, they kind of did and they kind of did. I mean, they did change the ending because of the test audiences, but that is a reality now, unfortunately.
Well, with that being said, that ending that they changed too was a lot of them. The writers also were kind of, there was like 4 or 5 writers with this movie, remember? And they were kind of at odds with how they wanted to end it. So I think that was kind of how they made the decision. It was like, all right, we're going to show, because they ended up showing like 4 or 5 different endings to test audiences.
Wow.
And that's kind of how they agreed. They were like, all right, we'll gauge the reaction from the test audiences. Whichever ending they like the most, that's what we'll go with. And that's what they did. So keep in mind, out of 4 or 5 endings, people are bitching about the ending as much as they are right now. Imagine if they went with the original endings. Imagine if they went with the one I told you about, the radio tower. People would have lost their minds.
Yeah.
So, oh my God. I know, Eric. Yeah. So yeah, David Gordon Green is doing Exorcist movies the same way he did the Halloweens. So he's going to have The Exorcist, which is a direct sequel to the original, then 2 sequels to follow. So I can't wait to see what he does with that trilogy.
A direct sequel? I mean, he's not going to get Linda Blair playing it, right?
I wouldn't be shocked if he did.
Really? Wow. That'll be heavy. I knew that. Yeah. I thought that they meant like a direct sequel, like taking place where Reagan's still a little kid.
No, I think it's going to be like how we do Halloween. Like, you know what I mean? Like a 40 years later thing. With this is going to be like 50 years later.
Wow.
Yeah.
And people are going to bitch about that too, I'm sure.
But it's funny because I look at it as a nice, unique change. Like, if you love the other Halloween films, you can still fucking watch them. Why don't people understand this? Like, people are so obsessed with the fact that it's called Halloween Ends, and how can Michael go out like that? You watched him go out in H2O. You watched him go out in Halloween 2, the original. You watched him go out in the remakes. I mean, how many fucking times have we seen him die? It's okay. He'll be back in some form.
He'll be back in the next one, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to happen.
This is crazy.
Yeah, I just...
Very, very toxic.
Yeah, and that makes sense, Eric, because he acknowledged the Halloween sequels in a way in his trilogy. He played homage to a lot of those. So I think he's going to kind of do the same thing.
She's old now.
Yeah, Ellen Burstyn, yeah. She's pretty cool.
Wow.
I'm excited for it. I mean, I think it's pretty cool.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take anything. I mean, I really like part 3.
Especially if he's acknowledging part 3, I would love to see how he does that.
Yeah,
if we can get like a nurse with scissors scene that would be amazing to me.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Or throw like a Gemini killer in there. Hell yeah. Let's do it.
Man, Brad Dourif looks old these days, doesn't he? Good Lord. Couldn't believe how old he looks. It's just crazy. Linda Blair still looks good. Yeah, I mean, her face don't look that great, but
Linda Blair looked good in Exorcist 2.
And Savage Streets.
Yeah.
Oliver.
That's naughty.
Yeah. Dare Triple Berry.
Triple Berry. Oh shit! Here we go.
Not quadruple berry.
Still, I thought, hey, I found something.
Triple Berry.
Triple Berry what?
Yeah, these ones.
Yeah, Triple Berry muffin.
Oh.
Warm one.
Hopefully it's not a snozberry or a dingleberry.
Yeah, really. You didn't put any dingleberries in this, did you?
The snozberries taste like snozberries.
Yeah. The blueberries taste like blueberries. And look.
It just doesn't taste the
Violet is turning violet.
For anybody who doesn't know in the chat, in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, when he says that, snozberries are dicks.
Are you kidding me?
Nope. So he's asking the kids if he's telling the kids that the dick flavored wallpaper tastes like dicks. That's what a snozberry is.
Wow.
Never heard of that before.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was a UK thing, like a term for knobs. Roald Dahl knew what he was doing.
Yeah. All right, you ready to end it?
Yeah, if you're done, we can end it.
We're done. We spoiled everything, and that we probably shouldn't have. We talked about the Conjuring universe
at the end of the Conjuring 3. No,
it ties back to the first one now. Yeah, but something very interesting was put on Instagram, and Joe actually sent it to me before that. But if you want to watch them all in order, you can in order, which means timeline that they originally took place in. And that's what we're going to do later on.
We'll be doing that next. Yeah, another time. Which I think will be cool. It'll be a whole new experience because of the way they connect to each other.
Yeah. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate that, man. Thank you, Brad.
Yeah, thanks, guys. This was a short one, but it'll be good for people to go back and.
Yeah, I mean, we only had 8 movies, so.
Exactly.
But it was something that we wanted to do, and I enjoy watching these.
I do want to do a Hellraiser one at some point.
Yes.
Where we rank all the Hellraisers.
Yep.
And honestly, I mean, even the Halloweens at some point would be cool to do.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, with obviously with Halloween Ends and with the new Hellraiser, it'd be cool to go back and do those for a ranking.
Hellraiser was so damn cool.
Yes, Hellraiser is really, really good.
Yeah, that would have made my top 5, but I don't own it, so it cannot.
Well, you will soon enough. So since we're not getting an official release, unfortunately.
Can't believe it. And I know what everybody's going to say. They're going to put out Revelation, but they won't put out the new one.
Yeah, well.
I like Revelations, though. Whatever.
Yep.
But all right,
everybody. Thank you for joining us. Please go back and rewatch the stream if you missed it from the beginning, so you can see how we ranked all of the movies in the Conjuring universe.
Yep.
And thanks for watching, guys.
Thank you.
I agree, Eric. See you guys.